we recommend that you watch the movie before watching our episodes. Hello, cinema lovers. Welcome back to yet another perspective. We have been talking about Hera Pheri for the last 2 weeks. We've spoken about the characters in regards to Freud's Ego, Superego. We've spoken about the internal psyche and the external circumstances and how the integration of the inner psyche is so important to take cues from and to react to the external world. Swati, this time I want to take the conversation forward to speak about the songs in the movie. I know we've spoken previously about item numbers and how, even though they seem so grandiose and extravagant, there is relevance to those in a good movie. You will find relevance to those in context to the story. Here there are two item numbers in the movie, but both of them are when the character of Raju is fantasizing or dreaming in a dream state. You want to talk more about those two songs and then we can take it forward with the others.
So, if we look at all the songs, they place very well with the characters. While if you look at the lyrics, you would want to wonder because they use a lot of garble of a lot of, just a small child having put some sounds together. The first introduction song of Raju coming back and saying that he fantasizes this grandiose world, which in real life he's also using as a lie. It's not like he is only fantasizing and doing something else outside. He's using that as his dream to build up his love towards his mother, to give her a great life. Whereas he's doing those small jobs to be building up. So in that, there are these big cars and big, he's playing music and he's being this juggler and he's just doing a lot of grandiose oriented things. So the grandiose oriented things is the richness that we need to understand comes in from our inner psyche. We are capable of that much more, the potential that we are talking about. So if you look at the movie is how all three of them are helpless. But when you look at the songs, it's about how grand we can make the living. So the first song is about the possibilities, the aspirations, the desires that all of us carry in our own heart. We cut them down and say, no, I just want a very decent life. But basically, if we'll go into our Id, we will find so much that is there. And if the item number that we are talking about, that again, how Id works with wish fulfillment. He's very depressed, the opportunity is lost, the ego and the superego are not on the same page with him, and now he doesn't know what to do because he cannot do it on his own self. So then he goes very, very depressed. मैं तो laundry का bill लेने ही जा सकता हूँ, to come back and say, oh, let me enjoy this, let me sing this, let me do this, and I'm again the king of this place. But because it's a depressive mood, the setting automatically becomes like that. So both the dream sequences are something which we can associate with dreams that we end up having in the nights. There are times in the night you'll see yourself doing subah jo office work kar rahe the, that continuation. There are times you'll have dreams which are very, very abstract. And all of these dreams are very dependent on your current inner reality. And that's the depiction of both these songs.
Right. As we spoke about, even in Inception, there were a lot of things that, even though it was a shared dream, each of them brought in their current reality into their projections, and that goes so well even for, as you spoke about, these dream songs. What about the other songs? What do you think? How well are they placed in the movie? What is their relevance in the depiction of the story?
So I think I was able to be okay with the Pop song just because my daughter had picked it up a lot and she would keep saying it quite a lot. So if you look at the song, it might end up feeling ye kya bachpana hai, but as part of the inner psyche, it's very well placed because you're talking about the superego right now being very upset, right? He's upset with Raju, and बाबूराव के साथ the problem which has ended up happening in the sense कि बाबूराव की वजह से he has had to give Raju a signed paper and Raju has used it to snatch away his job. So he's very upset. And on the other end, you're talking about the bank manager and Anuradha trying to come back and manipulate him into a particular way that he should give up his job. And he knows that's righteously his. So he's upset and feeling very righteous about his own self. So if you see, the picturization of the song says quite a lot. The actors are bigger than the backdrops they're using. There's a miniature train. The buildings are all very small. So the spaces are very, very open, right? And yet, if you go to see, there's a sense of I am bigger than everything. So that is a depiction of the interplay. So either with Raju, he's fighting. With Anuradha, he cannot be having that kind of a fight. So it is how he's rejecting her. And he's actually telling her, oh, I'll commit suicide. Okay, fine, please go ahead and do that. So the grandiose of the superego has been picked up beautifully in the picturization of the song Popopo.
So there's only one, now that I think back on all the 5 songs, there's only one song that's grounded in reality. That is the song where actually the integration of the 3 characters happens and they are on the same page. And the song takes scenes from their real life and their immediate surroundings. Every other song has an element of, has an aspirational value in some sense. How do you, and so that song sort of stands out for me. How do you sort of explain why that was important to be grounded in reality?
Because you're talking about now the integration having happened and your everyday functioning. So we talked about Babu Rao struggling a lot with his everyday life. And Babu Rao is the one who asks Ghanshyam, are you still upset with him? Or he tells Raju, Ghe, tujhe bhi dukh hai, mujhe bhi dukh hai. And so he's the one who's trying to bring everything together. So the day we find the inner peace, whether we will be able to find success or not in the more outside world reality, there is still a kind of success that they have found. Success in what? They're sitting at a restaurant and, Anuradha is paying the bill and they are laughing. Or, they are going in a bus and Anuradha is standing and he's shadowing her so that she doesn't fall off. And they are very pleasantly having that conversation. Or their everyday thing that they are sitting together and they are eating. So a lot of times, while success can be looked at as the outer world definition, there is a kind of inner harmony which also makes us feel we are in control of life. और कुछ हो ना हो, ये तुझसे हो सकता है, So everyday functioning has now been balanced. Their dream, their aspiration of माँ को खुश रखना है, या मुझे कर्जा चुका के एक दिन बाहर बैठना है, या मैं अपने आप को नौकरी करते हुए देखना चाहता हूँ, that is still seeming distant reality, does not take away happiness from you. But for being happy, the ego and superego need to have found that base. So if you go to see, the second half of the film doesn't cater to the bank manager at all. Anuradha has moved into this space now. Right? So you don't need a manipulative ego anymore, and they've found harmony and peace, which leads to happiness.
And then suddenly that gets taken away when the opportunity arises, and they're back to grandiosity in their song Denewala deta chappar paaki. They've again gone into that fantasy world where they are big, larger than life, and their surroundings are larger than life, and they are having the time of their life.
Yes, and if you go to see the montage, the way it has been put together, it talks about all the possible desires. That they're sitting with these lion cubs, and the real lion comes and now they have to run away, right? Or they are impressing girls. So, Ghanshyam is somebody who's kind of all meek about it. So all the required things, big car, a great hotel. So the desires that can be part of it, they've picked up the montage. If life was to feel successful, it would feel in this particular way. So it couldn't have been done other than a montage. The only song I think which doesn't have a montage kind of a thing is Tun Tunak Tun, the last one, because it is only talking about making peace with one's own self.
Right.
because the sequence still ends with Chamanjinga and the unsuccessfulness of life. So you've come back to the reality. So it's not like it's taken you forward anywhere. So Tuntunaktum didn't need that montage. It needed only those indoors and that dance. The rest was about there is a jigsaw puzzle. There is so much that you can put together and feel happy and successful about. So those two songs are about both the all three of the characters, whereas the first and the last song are about Raju, and the Popopo song is about Ghanshyam.
Right. So the songs have so much grandiosity about them. But when you look at the characters in real life, other than Raju, who has big dreams and big aspirations and wants to live in big houses and do a lot of things, the other two characters are very satisfied in their own way. They just want to get out of the current problem that they're in. For example, Anuradha says to Ghanshyam, if you want to have this job, just give me 50,000 and I will let go of this job. And counter to that, when he needs the money to pay Khadak Singh, he goes to her and he says, "Mujhe 35,000 de do." He does not ask for 50,000. He doesn't want more than he needs. He needs to give Khadak Singh 35,000. So that's all he needs right now. He doesn't think about going beyond that need or exploiting the resource to meet other needs. Similarly for Babu Rao as well, when the call comes of Kabira, and they call Devi Prasad. Devi Prasad asks how much, and so he's calculating in his head. He's like, "Acha 10 to Kabira ko dena hai, mera itna utna. Acha paune 12. We will ask for paune 12." So they're not really like. Then how do we? Is that the when the song is about all three? Is the grandiosity only its function? Is that his imagination and not the other tools?
The other two also come into the picture because right now that desire and that happiness of the aspiration of the id is winning.
Right.
So if we had 20 lakh rupees is what the dream is about. So that permission to come back and say, oh, हम अपने कपड़े के आगे, we can make a suit more than the cloth that we have right now. That willingness to say, because it is seeming very achievable, now has the inclusion of the ego and superego. Right. So it is their own dreams too. Of playing with the lion cubs, for example. They would also love to do it. But in event of not having the id, they wouldn't have those aspirations. But now that it is achievable, we all like that luxury and we all like that little more money and we all love that little more attention that we get, which is true for ego and superego also.
So we speak about character arcs a lot, right? But in this movie, it's so interesting to see that I can see like the arc of the songs as well. If you just look at the songs, you can somewhere tell how the story is going, which is what makes them so fitting into the narrative. Like for example, the first song is the dream of the id, which is Raju's dream, which then the second song is about the battle of the superego, which is Ghanshyam's song Pom 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 with Anuradha, where he's trying to make peace with that conflict in his life. Then it goes on to becoming the harmony song, right, where they are sharing their sorrows and dreams, and then the internal psyche is sort of united and so grounded in its presence and in its reality. And then they get the opportunity, and then it moves on to Raju's dream become the aspiration of Raju, or it becomes the aspiration of all three. It includes the ego and the superego, like you said now. And then when things break down, it again goes into a dream state of the id, which is now much darker, and it's more about the snakes crawling and like darker colors and any of those things. So it's like the songs have taken a life of their own and they've gone a full circle as well, along with the movie.
Yes. So I agree with that part of it as part of how integration and disintegration are a part of the whole process. And we don't need to be looking at the ego and superego as absolute separates, as to they'll find their meeting points and they'll find their points of divergence. So id will always be somebody who will find peace. It will just be saying that, if I don't get it in the reality out there, I will find it inside my own world. So it does not like to be depressed. Like we said, it's the childlikeness. It will find its own resilience to come back. So from great dreams to being in conflict with it, and that's why the Popapo and the whole power conflict which comes about. So great dreams will lead us to power conflict, because somebody will tell you you're thinking right, you're thinking wrong, but to be able to find harmony with all these people and then progressing out to it becoming a shared dream. And despite that, being able to look at the breakdowns. So this brings me to Inception ka one thing that we already talked about, where we said that once we enter the mind, we'll work with what we get. So once the harmony has happened, the aspirations and dreams have come about. Despite that, once you enter the playing field, each player on their own, right? So it will still find its way to use resilience and do fantasy to be able to bounce back. Superego will try to make it right by going and talking to Anuradha that I can't pay you the money, but realizing that's not a reality that he can deal with anymore. And Baburao having to deal with his people he had to pay back money. So they will still be confronting the reality world to come back and say, are we doing right or wrong? So, ego and superego will look outwards, it will look inwards to find its own answers to many things, and that's what the conclusion comes about. So, it starts with an id song, it ends with an id song, but id is able to take ego and superego along, and it's very rooted in reality. So, the third song, which is in the center, is rooted in reality with a little of a backstory and a little of things becoming all right later on. So I loved the way the songs also brought life to the characters.
So this has been really great, Swati, because I was thinking about how Hollywood always has this one comment about Indian cinema as to why do you have so many songs? Why is there so much singing and dancing in Indian cinema? And when you look at movies like Hera Pheri and how the songs have actually helped the progression of the characters and represent the progression of the characters is so well built into the script of the movie and the narration. You realize what the importance of songs are actually, and how they add to the story instead of being distractions. And that's been done so well in this movie. And I've obviously loved the songs. I don't really know what any of the words are because they're just sounds, but but they're still like they're also fun and they're catchy, but they also lend so much to the story, which is a difficult balance to find in any creative process. So this has been great, Swati. I look forward to talking more about Hera Pheri with you in the coming week. Until then, thank you for joining us and keep watching movies.